Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast, where we try to shine a light on the positive things happening in public education. And so we have some interesting times right now. We are in the midst of COVID-19 school closures and people not being certain about their jobs. And so we thought it would be very good timing to bring back Leigh Richardson, who is from the Brain Performance Center, who has shared with us about the brain in, I think, last year sometime. Mm-hmm. And so we've asked her to come back and talk about the impact that this unusual environment is having on the brain of our children. So Leigh, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, talk a little bit about the Brain Performance Center, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you
Welcome
so much
back.
for having me back. I own a business called the Brain Performance Center, and what we do is we focus on what's going on in the brain. And that has a lot to do with, genetics, physical head trauma, emotional trauma, and stress. And I can't imagine the level of stress in many children's mind right now. Even for myself, Sunday I can't go to church. Right. Monday, Tuesday I can't go to the gym. I can't sit down in my Starbucks. It's an extremely stressful time. And that's really kind of what got me into neurofeedback and neurostimulation and cognitive behavioral therapy. Was my son got hit by a car in second grade, and by the time he got to fifth grade, he came to me and he said, "Mom, I have ADHD." Now, this was a good while ago. He's turning 32.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, how can you know what that is? I don't know what that is. But that started what made me find that there are other ways to influence the brain, and really helped me to understand how the brain influences behavior. Everything you do, you don't do, how well you do it, it's all about what's going on in the brain. And stress is something that certainly affects us all. But let's stop and think about the adolescent's brain. So when you think about it, I'm always amazed when I think about, by the time you're 6 years old, your brain is 95% of the adult size. But does that mean that your brain is working like an adult brain? No. And it's really during adolescence that fine tuning starts to happen, because the brain's got this theory, use it or lose it. So if you're not using those neural pathways, then you start to lose them. And really, during that adolescence, the brain's focused on the gray matter. That's where thinking and processing goes on. And it's also focused on trying to make good decisions. So until you're in your mid to late 20s, your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. That's where we think through things, we think of consequences, we think about, is that really a good decision? So when you're in adolescence, you don't have that. What do you use? You use the amygdala. And what the amygdala reacts to is emotions, impulses, instinctive behavior, aggression. So those decisions aren't always the best. And many times there's no thinking through it. It's just, well, I had to make a decision. I needed to do it, so I did it. And when you think about, you live in that world of adolescence.
I do. And I tell you, some of the hardest work we have to do is with our adults who don't remember always that the brain is not fully formed, and they want to judge and evaluate the actions of their young people through the lenses of adult lenses. And so this is a great reminder to our adults that when our kids do something a little bit odd, they're acting their age or they're acting their brain.
They're using what they have. You can only use it if you have it. And what I've noticed with adolescents and teenagers, what do they worry about the most? They worry about the future. Am I going to get in? Am I going to try to go to college? Am I even going to try to go to technical? Will I get in? And they worry about the social pressures around them. And so what's happened in the last 3 days? Life's been put on hold.
Yes. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like from our end. The parents just found out Thursday that they had a week off, right? That school was closed for a week. But the news and our leadership, the president, the mayor, other people in higher up places, health, the CDC, they were alluding to the fact that we needed to be closed longer. And so we've been living in this world of our parents becoming very uncertain about their future. And I'm sure in some ways that was translated to their kids. Now, whether they spoke directly to them or whether it was just through watching their parents be nervous, talking nervously with hubby, with spouse, with friends, with other loved ones, you know that these home environments have not been comfortable places right now.
And this is a true statistic. Children that report that their parents are stressed out a lot of the time, they're 8 times more likely to be stressed out themselves.
Sure.
So to your point, they're picking up those vibes. They know what's going on.
So let's be a little bit more direct. We've got kids, ages, in our case, 5 years old all the way to 18-year-old seniors that are sensing uncertainty on the part of their parents. What are their brains doing?
Their brains are getting a little chaotic because, you know, it's interesting. Our normal response to stress is fight or flight. I don't know what to do. But that changed after 9/11 and after the 2013 Boston Marathon. We developed a new stress response, and that was tend and befriend. And, we wanted to be around people. We wanted to see that everybody was okay. And we felt better, but you think about it now, I think a fair amount of the children in your school, their grandparents are involved in their daily care. Well, that immediate connection may be severed. That's a highly risk. You're looking at 2 highly risk populations. You probably don't want to merge those together. So now, how do those kids respond to stress? And social media is a big thing. And I've certainly said good and bad about social media, but there's good associated with it. And for today, I think it's good to let your kids know what their friends are doing, if they can, on social media. Because that old FOMO, fear of missing out, that strikes right at their heart.
Well, and they're not able to see them in person. Now that their social outlet, i.e. school, is off the table, then how else can they meet that need that they have to be that social butterfly? It's through their phone. They're probably Instagramming, they are FaceTiming, they are doing all sorts of things to make up that void that they have of being with their friends.
Absolutely. And it's hard. It used to be, well, let's just have a play date. Well, social distancing. I had 2 boys. You would never have a play date with social distancing. It don't work that way, as you know better than I do.
Sure. Well, and they even said that playgrounds are off limits. And I have a little problem with that because with playground equipment, especially swings and slides, you can go down one at a time. The swings are apart from each other, and it's an outlet. It's a physical outlet. And so my daughter from Georgia had called and said that those schools were shut down indefinitely and that they couldn't go to their playgrounds. She lives on base up in Warner Robins. And so I said, well, you're going to have to create your own outside. Have the kids help you create a playground outside your house so that there's a physical outlet. You can't keep them inside the house.
No, you can't. And that's a way to connect with them. And I think that that's hard because many parents have been told they need to work from home. And it's hard to work from home and still be mom or dad and, make sure everybody's connected and everybody's doing what they want. Instead, it may be like, go to your room for right now. I need to get this done. Well, that creates stress for your child, as it does for you. It's hard. I think the hardest thing in the world right now is being a parent that's all of a sudden going to have all of their kids home for how long did you say?
At least 9 weeks.
That's a long time.
That's the end of the school year. And then I don't know if we'll have summer school because we don't have testing. And that's one of the wise things I think that happened is they took that pressure off of us so we can concentrate on some nice engaging learning online without having to think of the STAR test being that looming, black shadow. So that we thank the powers that be for that. But you're absolutely right, because there's a couple of things going on that not only are the kids home and the kids have instructional expectations from their schools, but also then work is expecting them to work from home. And so there's some readjustments that have to be made. And part of what I've asked our crew, for example, our teachers that are creating lesson plans, to build in some breathing moments and some yoga moments and lunch, let them have some free time. And so the parents can see that we're not wanting them to be slaves to the computer all day. That's not healthy. And I think you came on and talked about too much device time on the brain and the impact.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
So
But there's a lot that you can do with that screen time. Have your staff take them through a little mini countdown. Okay, I know everybody's working hard. I know it's hard doing this over the internet. Let's just close our eyes. Let's get grounded. Let's put our feet on the floor and let's think about breathing. And let's count backward. Let's start with 10. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. 10. 9. All the way down to 1. And that cuts the tension. Because right now we're all operating from a fear base. And the more we focus on something, the more we fear it. And it's really hard not to focus on what's going around right now. Can't go to church, can't
hardly go to the grocery store. Now they're going to start saying seniors can go at this time to keep them safer from, oh my goodness, just a new norm.
It is, but there are some things that you can do. That's one. It's in my world, it's called autogenic training. Well, in their world, why don't you do a little mini body scan? Why don't you start at the top of your head and think about how you need to relax the tension in that forehead. Think about that tension, because a lot of people hold tension in the jaw. Relax that jaw. Almost let that jaw come open. Then go to the shoulders and just work your way all the way down to your feet, where your feet feel like they're growing into the floor. So just little different things like that can be done online, and you're improving your stress level as a staff person, and you're teaching them life skills. So I do think that I'm happy to hear that there's that openness that from you that online training is not from 9 to 9:50. You read this, and then I'm very happy to hear that there's that opportunity.
Well, we want to make it engaging. If we make it so boring and dull, the parents will have a fight on their hands to get the kids to focus.
Absolutely.
So my daughter was saying that my grandchild, her 9-year-old daughter, had said several times, I want to be homeschooled. Well, she's gotten a taste of 2 days of homeschooling, and she hates it. Yeah. Because it's test prep, and it's some online stuff, it's reading, and she's already bored.
It's lonely too.
There you go.
You don't have that social interaction, and some kids worry anyway. And, make a worry box. Take an old shoe box, take any box, decorate it. Make it something that, you draw on, whatever, you paint on, but you make it your box. And then when you have those worries going through your head, take a little piece of paper, write them down, put them inside that worry box. Get it out of your head, because the longer it stays in your head, the more it's going to loop and loop and loop, and the more worried you're going to get.
Then you lose sleep over that, and of course we all know now how much sleep deprivation, what that causes, the body and health issues. Of course your mind is affected. So you're actually saying that if they write down their worries, let's say before they go to bed, as a part of a parent's bedtime routine, that every night they just have their kids write their current worries, they put them in the box, that the kids will sleep better?
Out of my head. And, I encourage parents to have conversation around that. Make their own worry box, because there's not one soul out there today that's not worried about something.
Well, about just COVID, right?
Absolutely.
Some of those other worries have gone away all of a sudden, right?
Absolutely. But, participate in that and let them know it is okay. That is the reason I wrote my book, Turn Your Brain On to Get Your Game On. So people know. I believe everybody at some point in their life is going to have anxiety, depression. They're going to experience grief. They're not going to sleep. They're going to make bad lifestyle choices. All of that impacts your brain. But you know what? It's okay, because it's called life.
So we have these kids, especially our older kids, who are hearing more, internalizing more, especially our middle schoolers who, they're starting to become
Hormones are kicking in,
yes,
puberty.
they are. And so what are some strategies that parents can help their kids that of the adolescent age undergo to help with that stress level?
Well, I think one of the first things that parents can do is look for that stress, because they're going to see that stress in their children's behavior, in their emotions, in their physical well-being, in their thought process. So, watch their behavior. Are they isolating themselves? Are they more aggressive in their interactions with their siblings? Do they appear to be worried or nervous? Watch their behavior and see what's going on. And then watch their emotions. Are they crying? Are they angry? Are they screaming? And from a thinking standpoint, is it harder for them to actually concentrate and focus? Do they seem like they're just very distracted all the time? So there are things, and from a physical standpoint, is their stomach upset all the time? Do they have a sore throat? Everybody has an area that's vulnerable. And so are they feeling that vulnerable area more? And I think by looking for that stress and being able to recognize and say, hey, you seem a little nervous. Is your heart beating faster than you think it should? Are you feeling a little nauseous in your stomach? Are your hands a little cold? Did you get a little dizzy when you stood up too soon? All of those are characteristics of anxiety. Well, yeah, I did. Well, you're okay. You're just feeling a little anxious. Let's talk about that. What are you worried about? How can I help you? And the best thing parents can do is listen. Listen to what they say. Play back to them what they say. Because then your child's like, oh my gosh, she heard me or he heard me. Because I can't tell you how many times my kids tell me, you're not listening. You didn't hear anything I said. Yes, I was. So let them know that you're listening.
So should that happen every day for a while? Do you think there's enough going on that that parents should take this opportunity to have these chats every day?
I think for some families there is. I think, the most important thing is you as a parent, what you model as behavior. If you sense that your kids are just kind of rolling with it okay, then don't make it a bigger deal than it needs to be. But if your kids wake up and they're, why can't I go to school today? And they're there, let's sit down and let's talk about it, because we really need to see the larger purpose. You know what? It's not just about you and me today. It's about what's going on in the world. And we need to do what we can. Think about grandma or grandpa. And we need to do what we can to make sure that they stay safe.
You said something earlier about 9/11 and 2013. And what was the phrase that you used? Now we tend?
Well, it was tend and befriend.
Tend and befriend. And it's funny you should say that, but we've started doing that. And I feel like the part of what the school is doing by making sure that we have food available.
I think that's
Is
fantastic.
doing that. Tend and befriend. Listening on the way over here, I heard of there's an influencer out there who was worried Friday night, and he put out a tweet about, hey, if you want to donate money to people who can't pay their bills. And so that's gone viral. And so there are people who are stepping up. And so I'm wondering, how could our families find ways to tend not only themselves but others? Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
Well, I think, talk to your kids. The kids know which friends of theirs need help. The kids know before anybody does that my friend's mom's probably going to lose her job because people can't come down and sit down in the restaurant and eat anymore. So try to find out who those people are. And just like as you did on Monday, you said, we're really not prepared to send food out, but if you really need it, come on by.
Yep.
And that's just being open. And, I have two mantras. This too shall pass, and KFC. And that's not Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's be kind, be firm, and be calm.
Well, it's funny you should say. Mine is don't sweat the small stuff, and it ends up all being small. Now, this feels very big, but when we look back, chances are what we thought might happen to us because we worried so much, it ends up not happening. And I'm old enough and I've been through enough.
That's life experience, life knowledge.
That I have found out that we survive almost anything.
Yeah.
How we survive it is on us. And so making sure that we treat our brain in a way that is part of our health plan is probably something that a lot of us need to move towards.
That is so true. Mental health matters. And a lot of us don't get that. Oh, I don't have time. I can't, why don't you sit down, take 10 minutes, have a cup of tea, a bottle of water, and just kind of let it be. Oh, I don't have time for that. I can't. I've got to take care of this and blah, 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 blah. And I think we all need to understand that our brain is important and give ourselves time. And only you can take care of yourself.
So we have given some interventions and strategies for parents to work with their kids. We have said, hey, do a worry box.
Yeah.
Right?
Do a happy box. Do whatever's fitting the moment.
Oh, I like that. Maybe a family happy box where every night they talk about something good that happened.
Something I'm grateful for.
And then that worry box that we all put our worries in before we go to bed.
Yep.
And so routines, before I forget, how important for the brain are routines?
Well, for that age, that adolescent age, it's very important because you need it, particularly in a stressful time. You need that structure to fall back on. You truly do. And I think that we all do better with routines. I can't tell you how many people come in my office and say, well, I can multitask. That's not good for the brain.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
And you think you can multitask? How well do you do anything? Focus on doing one thing really well.
Yeah, I'm sort of guilty. especially since last Wednesday.
I would imagine.
I mean,
so.
with having, I got to tell you, I had the laptop on my lap, I had the cell phone over here, and I'm receiving notifications through the cell phone, I'm receiving notifications through the laptop. I'm being bombarded by news and by messages and by decision-making that has to be done, having to talk to my board about, making sure they know what's coming up, seeing what's happening in other districts, talking to the commissioner every day at 3. Lots going on. And so my coping strategy is to work out. I've been to the gym every day.
Well, I hope your gym stays open because mine's closed.
Yeah, I know.
Because that's my coping strategy too. But think about it. For a 13-year-old boy, you can't get out on the basketball court and shoot hoops.
You can. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I was sharing with my daughter. The playground may be closed by the base, but that doesn't mean they're telling you to stay inside.
No.
No, you must add.
Go find rocks. I mean.
Yeah, go find rocks that are different shapes and designs. You can paint them. You can make them into, what have I seen? Golly.
Paperweights, all kinds of things.
The insects that are red with black dots.
Ladybugs?
Ladybugs. Thank you. I've seen them. Ladybugs and just all sorts of cute things that can be done by going outside and getting fresh air. Matter of fact, now that the weather's nicer, one of the things that many of us probably don't even know that we should be doing is walking barefoot outside to ground ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You know?
So for just as always, podcasts go. The time goes by very quickly, so we only have a couple of minutes left. What is the best way for right now, your advice to our families to help to take care of their brains during this time?
Basics, the very basics. Focus on your sleep. Sleep is fundamental for that brain. I mean, the only time those little glial cells can come out and clean out all that stuff going on in the brain is when you're asleep. Sleep and diet. Think about what you eat. And that's something to look for in your kids. If they're going more for their comfort food, that shows you they're stressed out. And we all need a little comfort food. But watch that caffeine intake that they take. Because as basic as nutrition is, it truly impacts the brain.
So stay hydrated along with that, because many of our young people do not stay hydrated.
Well, they do. They say, well, I drink coffee all the time. Coffee's made with water. Coffee's dehydrating.
So sleep, diet, enough real liquid.
And move a little. The brain needs movement. Even if you just walk, take a good nice walk, feel the sun on your shoulders, look up and see how beautiful that blue sky is. Use all of your senses and observe the goodness.
All right. Well, we come to the end of our podcast time already. I thank you so much. Can you just take a minute or two to talk about some of the things that our parents who might be very stressed do at your performance center?
Absolutely. We create regulation in the brain, and we can come at that a number of different ways. But sometimes just, using a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy to kind of realize where are all those negative thoughts coming from? Realize where they're coming from, and then understand how you can replace those with positive thoughts. And does it take a little effort? Yes, it does. Can it be done? Absolutely. And then the more positive you can become, the more positive your family will become.
So it starts with mom and dad.
It starts at the top.
Okay. So we have given you today many strategies to help your family, help yourself stay brain strong during this time. And for those few of you out there who feel like what we've given you today is not enough, you can contact Leigh Richardson at the Brain Performance Center and see if there's a little something that she can help you with to get you pushed in the right positive direction.
Absolutely. And I offer a complimentary 30-minute consultation over the phone or in person. And sometimes just really processing things and getting it out of your head can help.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we've come to the end, and we thank you. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.